Hey guys, welcome back. It's Melody, and today I wanted to talk about the 3 biggest reasons why it's very difficult for a lot of us to become minimalist. And the reason why these are important to talk about is because if we can recognize them as they pop up, then we can better navigate through them and be able to live the life that we really want. And the thing is that decluttering is just treating the symptoms of our problems. They're not treating the actual problem. The problems go a lot deeper than just clutter. And so that's what I want to talk about. I want to highlight the 3 reasons. If you're new here, I would appreciate it if you hit the red button at the bottom, the subscribe button. I post videos on minimalism, mainly household and professional type of minimalism, but I cover the gamut here. Anything that I think has to do with simple living or organized living, I always make sure to include a video. I'm going to get right into the video, and the very first reason that holds us back from becoming a minimalist is advertisement. And I know you've heard it a ton of times before, advertisement, but it's not the advertisement that we're thinking of. It's not the paid advertisement on television or the paid ads in the magazine. It's the subtle advertisement that is the most effective. And this advertisement permeates the entire magazine, not just the paid advertised page. Everybody is selling an idea. Everybody is selling a lifestyle. It is not that we need to shut out all of these examples because it's impossible, but it's just that we need to recognize that everything is selling something. And this includes our family. Being raised a certain way, you are advertised certain things, and maybe your childhood was terrible to you, and so you're going to vacillate to the other extreme, or maybe it was decent enough and you want to copy it pretty closely. But it's important to recognize these patterns and recognize the advertisement. Word of mouth advertisement is especially effective. And the last thing is society in general. And society exerts its influence through culture, through politics. Culture is very much based on consumption and on gift giving to show affection, and it's important to recognize that. And also, if you grow up poor, it is easy to come into a hoarding or a fearful type of tendency, which I'll get into more in the third point. But also, if you grow up wealthy or middle class, it is very easy to try to keep up with everybody. So society influences us in a big way. So what is the solution for this first point, the advertisement? The solution is to be aware, and the second solution is to examine all of our beliefs, because all of us have goals, and we need to examine the beliefs behind those goals, because the beliefs that we hold are what influence those goals. So that is the solution in dealing with advertisement. Examine why we believe what we believe. And then the second reason why it's very hard to declutter is because we are not cognizant, we're not aware of what's happening as it's happening. And this is partly because we're overworked, and partly because it's human nature to just get used to things. It's human nature to sit down and just eat our food without paying attention, go outside without checking our surroundings and looking at the beautiful trees. We get used to everything. It could be a significant other, or it could be an item in our house, and then about a month later, 2 months later, it doesn't matter how great that thing is, it just slowly declines and we get to a steady, static place of getting used to something. And we have to constantly remind ourselves to pay attention, to be mindful. So in minimalism, we talk a lot about mindfulness, and this is so very important. So it's very important to be mindful as things are coming into the house. Again, the second category is that we're not aware. We go through life almost half asleep. And so the 3 areas to really be careful for are gifts. Gifts come into your house all of the time, but ask yourself if you actually need that thing. And then the second thing is free things. Free things in the way of coupons or in the way of samples in the mall. Nothing in life is free. You have to think about it, you have to store it, you have to take action with it. It's not free. And then the third thing we need to look out for is things that are not getting used fast enough, things that we're not touching. How often I wish we could go into our closets and see above every garment how often we've touched that one garment that month. We would see so many things are not getting touched at all. So if you are a person that you know that your lotion is never getting used, then when you get gifts of lotions every year, you know you've got to send them out because it's not getting processed. So you can pay attention to the garments you're always buying, the makeup that you're always buying that's not getting used, and then you'll know not to get it again or not to accept it in your house when you get a gift. And then the fourth thing that you need to be aware of is the things you always hold on to. Things like boxes or tags. If you get really expensive designer things, you might hold on to the tags or the shoebox. You have to be really aware of those things that just never seem to make it outside of our house, including food. In our pantry, we buy things with good intentions and some things never get through, and we just hold on to it because we spent the money. And spending a lot of money is one of the main reasons why we don't want to let things go. We want to recoup the money even though it's already gone. It's better to stop taking losses on that thing and send it on its way. And so in our pantry, if you have things that are not getting used, it's better to send it on its way. And the same thing with big pieces that we bought, expensive designer clothes or expensive furniture. Even if we can't recoup the money, it's better to let it go. You've got to make note of the weakness of when all these things are coming in, and then when you get note of all the buildup that's happening, then it won't happen again. So it's better not to just declutter if things are still coming in, or if you haven't examined your tendencies of the things you hold on to or the things you buy too much of. Decluttering is only going to stem the problem for a little while. We've got to get to the root of it. And the very last reason, the third and biggest reason why it's hard to become a minimalist is because of stress, anxiety, fear, and insecurities. These things affect every human, and shopping, indeed, it feels good for a little while. We overwork ourselves and we want to reward ourselves, or we don't feel good and we want to feel better. And these things work for a little while, but there are better ways of coping with all of these things than shopping or storing or hoarding. Like I said, I grew up extremely poor, and my grandma was a hoarder, and that passed down to my mother, going back to the point of examples. And it's easy when you grow up with less than you need to always want to fill it, to always want to make sure that you have enough. And that is why it's good to understand your weaknesses. Even if you give in to them, you have to know that they're there. If you do not find your weaknesses now, there will be some company or some lover that will exploit them. So going to therapy can really help, but therapy doesn't necessarily provide the answers. The answers are for you to find yourself. They can highlight themes and patterns and point you more towards the right direction, so you can examine your weaknesses and how much culture and childhood has affected you. If you have insecurities about the way you look, there will be a company that will step in, whether pharmaceutical or clothes. If you are bored with life all the time, there is a bunch of travel destinations that are there for you, ready to hold your hand. And if you are fearful of the future, there are a bunch of companies that will help you stock up on a million things. Doesn't matter what you have, there is a company out there willing to meet that need, but those things don't solve those problems. They're only solving the symptoms. They're not solving the actual problem. And if you don't understand the different intricacies with humans, then it will be hard to deal with other people as you see these insecurities and these weaknesses and these fears coming out. So if you go to therapy, you can better understand why people are acting the way that they are, especially people in your own household. The most common question probably is, how do I deal with somebody that is not on board? They're hoarding things, they're buying things too much, and I don't know what to do. Minimalism always goes with kindness. It always goes with kindness. There's only one way to live, and that is to be kind. Because when we understand humans and why they do what they do, then it's easier to love them because we can see the same weaknesses that we have in ourselves. And the bottom line is that your child or your spouse or other people all over your Facebook that have many things, they often have their own insecurities, their own fears, and their own ways of ameliorating the monotony or the suffering that is in life. We can exemplify a more positive way to add joy to life, but everybody is fighting a different battle. And the very last reason we should know ourselves is because if we don't know ourselves, we're going to be chasing so many different alternate futures and ideal realities and buying things for each of those realities as we're trying to fill voids or as we're trying to chase something that isn't there. So the better that we know ourselves, the more we know what we want, and then we can better make choices when we're making our buying decisions. We can make them knowing our tendencies and knowing what we really want out of life. So I can't recommend highly enough to try to understand people, and most importantly, to understand yourself. The more that you understand yourself, the more kind you are, and the more likely you're going to look for the deeper things in life. So those are my thoughts on why it can be hard to become a minimalist. I have a fourth reason why in the down bar that's also important if you want to check that out. I just want to say thank you guys for all of your comments. I love reading every single one, and I hope that you guys are having a great day. I'll see you guys in the next minimalist and organization video.